Hello, welcome to the 5th TM History Icons remote pub quiz. Yes, as the winter nights begin to draw in, I'm delighted to welcome you to the middle of this mysterious tropical jungle in honour of our special guest round this evening. Let's face it, I'm guilty of some of the very worst stereotyping with both this costume and setting, but it's intended to be a good-natured nod towards the wonderful archaeologist and anthropologist Mary-Ann Ochota, who will be presenting a specially written round for us later on tonight. Now, we held our very first TM History Icons online quiz 7 months ago, and a couple of weeks into the first national lockdown. Now, although I don't personally believe that history repeats itself, and let's face it, the causes of past events are far too complex for that, I certainly think the past echoes. So, it's another lockdown and another quiz, but with different questions, obviously. Now, tonight is going to feature 5 rounds, and to be factored into the final scores, all your answers need to be submitted on the usual series of Google forms that you can find at the links displayed on the screen, just there. The URLs here on the video stream can't actually be clicked, but you can type that address into a new tab on your browser. Just bit.ly/TMHiquiz5, and then it's -1, 2, and then 3. As usual, to reduce the risk of a catastrophic Google failure, you'll submit separate forms for rounds 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then a final one for round 5. And the hope is that this will also give my absolutely fabulous wife, Alice, of course she's there on Twitter at Mrs. Allsop Hums, give her a follow, go on. It'll give her time to go through the responses for manual marking before we reveal the scores live at the end. To make it easier for her though, please do make sure that any answers that have to be typed are done in capital letters. It hopefully goes without saying, please don't look up any of the answers, but there aren't any physical prizes anyway. Also, since many of you will be doing this on different devices, please don't unintentionally give anything away on your own little private message stream. To be fair, that's more of a warning for Alex Fairland, who seems to have form in that. Anyway, in case of dispute, the Quizmaster's decision is final anyway. So, I hope that over the course of the next hour and a half or so, you'll have a good time and the chance to catch up with some friends and old teammates. You can, of course, message other quizzers, maybe give Team Dead Famous a bit of a run-in for their money by commenting directly on the YouTube stream, or if you're on Twitter, you can use the hashtag TMHiQuiz, that's the one just down there, and maybe even share a few photos of yourselves playing along. Please remember, we are very much not professionals at this, and it's all still being run from the same old spare bedroom in Romania, so do be patient, both in terms of the technology and the questions. Also, we've literally just done a 2-hour-long online PTA wine tasting, so we'll have to see how this goes. Okay, I think that I have waffled on long enough in that introduction, so let's get started. The first round is all about famous furniture. And I'd like to thank Alice for coming up with both the idea for this round and for many of the questions, where every question or answer is related in some way to a piece of historical furniture. For this round, you'll need to type some of your answers, so remember, please do that in capital letters to make the marking a bit easier. Similarly, stick with the standard alphabet. You don't need to worry about adding accents and such like to the letters. Okay then, let's get going. It's TMHI quiz number 5. My bow tie's all wonky. That will never do. There we are. It's famous furniture. It's round 1. Here we go. Question number 1. This desk is formed of the timbers of which British ship? This desk is made from the timbers of which British ship? Okay, that was question 1. Remember that the answer sheets are available at the links just down. Oh, got my hand wrong. That one just there. It's round 1. It's bit.ly/TMHI quiz 5-1. Question number 2. Where is this displayed? It's a chair, but where is it displayed? Multiple choice here. Is it A, in the Egyptian Museum in Berlin? Is it B, in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo? C, the British Museum in London? Or D, the Saatchi Gallery in New York? It's a chair, but where is it on display? Okay, teams, if you find that I'm going too fast or in fact too slow on the questions, do let us know. You can post on the YouTube stream, or you can let us know on Twitter. You are our eyes and ears. Question number 3. It's all about famous furniture. So where was this bed? It's a city, but which city was this bed in? Was it A, New York, B, Amsterdam, C, London, or D, Tokyo? So in which city would you have found that bed, or that bedding? Question number 4. How many times did this desk host cabinet meetings? I can tell you it is in the UK, but how many times did this desk host cabinet meetings? Was it none at all? Did no cabinet meetings at all take place there? Was it 10 cabinet meetings, 55, or 115 cabinet meetings at that desk? Here's the halfway question on round 1 about famous furniture. Question number 5. Last used in 1953, which piece of furniture would house this stone? Okay, so last used in 1953, which piece of furniture would house this stone? To be fair, the piece of furniture itself has been used many times since, but it's the combination of that piece of furniture and that stone. What piece of furniture is it? Is it A, a chair, B, a bed, C, a table, or D, a bookshelf? Okay. Martin, you raised a question in the YouTube chat about this desk. Yes, we mean war cabinet meetings. Okay, so how many times did this host war cabinet meetings? That was question number 4. Question number 5 was about the piece of furniture that holds that stone. Question number 6, which conflict provides the setting for the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Which conflict provides the setting, or the chronological setting, for the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Question number 7. One of my favourite tables of all time, mostly because it adorns the gatefold inner sleeve of Rick Wakeman's Myths and Legends of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. But in which castle would you find this? So which castle houses this table? Question number 8. It's round 1. William Kemmler was the first person to be executed using an electric chair. But which city did that execution take place in? Was it A, Boston, B, Houston, C, Denver, or D, New York? So William Kemmler was the first person ever to be executed using an electric chair, but where did that execution take place? On to the penultimate question in our furniture round. Furniture, great, why not? Number 9. In March 1900, the Ashanti launched an uprising against British colonialists, triggered by which piece of golden furniture? It was actually called the War of the Golden Something. So in March 1900, the Ashanti launched an uprising against British colonialists, triggered by which of these pieces of golden furniture? Was it A, a stool, B, a table, C, a chair, or D, a footrest? Here we go then with the final question on our furniture round. Don't worry, you're going to get a recap of all 10 questions in a couple of minutes. So if you missed anything, you'll be able to look back over those very shortly. But the final question, question number 10 on round 1, about famous, or at least famous historical furniture. Number 10, this sofa was modelled on Mae West's lips. But which artist made it? So the sofa was modelled on Mae West's lips, but who actually made it? Was it A, Pablo Picasso, B, Salvador Dali, C, Frida Kahlo, or D, René Magritte? So who actually made the sofa? It was modelled on Mae West's lips, but who made it? So that was your 10th and final question on round 1. I promised you a recap of the 10 questions, so I'll leave these on the screen for a couple of minutes, and then I'll be back with round 2. Okay, everyone, that was round 1 on our brand new 5th edition of the TM History Icons remote pub quiz. Thank you for joining us on this Friday evening. I hope that you're all well and not too absolutely shattered after what is transpiring to be a very long and taxing term. It's time for round 2. Hopefully on your answer sheets you can see that there is just a button where you click next and it will take you through to round 2, which is this one. It's called Googly Monarchs. Okay, let me explain. Now, you may have come across the internet phenomenon, the higher or lower game, which is frankly catnip to procrastinators everywhere. This round is a simple higher or lower game based on which English or British monarch search term is Googled the most in the UK, using data that I spent far too long gathering from Google Trends. So here's how it works. Well, according to Google Trends, The specific search term, William the Conqueror, has an average of 14,800 weekly searches, okay? So that's how, on average, how many weekly searches are done for that term, William the Conqueror. For question 1, you just need to decide, like higher or lower, but it's more or less. Does the search term Richard the Lionheart have more or less searches than William the Conqueror? So it's multiple choice, it's just more or less. Does the search term Richard the Lionheart have more or less searches than William the Conqueror, who gets, on average, according to Google Trends, 14,800 weekly searches? Okay, let's move on to question 2. The theme just runs through. We're just going to take the monarch that we've just done, so Richard the Lionheart. Now, it's a higher or lower, more or less. Do you think that King John, as a search term, has more or less average weekly searches on Google than does Richard the Lionheart? So does King John have more or less searches on Google, according to Google Trends, than Richard the Lionheart? Okay, moving on to our third googly monarch. So, taking King John now as like your benchmark, does Richard III as a search term have more or less searches than King John? So, does Richard III have more or less searches than King John? So yeah, just to clarify, this is only UK Google searches. Okay, so it's google.co.uk. Fiona Stewart, hope that you're well after the wine tasting earlier this evening. We're soldiering through. Let's hope the marking's accurate. So this is google.co.uk search terms. Does Richard III have more or less searches than King John? Number 4, skipping a couple of monarchs, but do you think that Henry VIII has more or less searches than Richard III? Again, it's UK only, but does Henry VIII have more or less searches on Google in the UK than Richard III? Here is number 5. So using Henry VIII as our benchmark this time, does Elizabeth I have more or less searches than Henry VIII? Remember, it's got to be these specific search terms. So it's not Queen Elizabeth, it's specifically Elizabeth I. Does that search term have more or less searches on Google's UK arm than Henry VIII? Is it more or less? Next one then, it's number 6. You know the drill. Does Charles I as a search term have more or less searches than Elizabeth I? Does Charles I have more or less searches than Elizabeth I? Next one along, number 7. Ooh, does Charles II have more or less searches than Charles I? So does Charles II have more or less Google searches in the UK than Charles I? I've just taken a quick look through the chat. It is lovely to see so many people joining us from all corners of the world. I noticed that Will has joined us from Ohio. So Ohio, Will, and then we've got some Romanian folks in there, and we've got the Allsop clan down in Essex, or the Watsop clan, to be fair, down in Essex, and then all the usual crowd from all over the shop. It's absolutely wonderful. I'm sure that Alice is telling me lots of other places as well. So thank you for joining us on the TMHI quiz number 5. Here is number 8 on our googly monarchs. Does Queen Victoria have more or less Google searches in the UK than Charles II? So does Queen Victoria as a search term have more or less searches on google.co.uk than Charles II? I can see what's happening in the chat. You just want a shout out, don't you, Team Rubenhold? That's what you want. Well, there you go. You got it. Okay. Charlie. Lovely to see Charlie Freeze here too. How amazing. Lovely. Here is, I don't normally dress like this anymore. Okay, it is Movember. Can I point out it is Movember at the moment? Hence this moustache, but set off rather nicely by this. I don't know what is it? Is it sort of Edwardian? Maybe Edwardian, sort of 1920s-ish, something like that. Georgian is a reference that is obviously not historically timed. Okay, that wine tasting has definitely got to us. On to number 9. It's Googly Monarchs. Does Elizabeth II as a search term have more or less searches than Queen Victoria? So does Elizabeth II as a search term on google.co.uk have more or less searches than Queen Victoria? Remember, we've got all of this data from Google Trends, looking at what the search terms were in the UK. And we did it on weekly searches. So did Elizabeth II have more or less weekly searches on Google UK than Queen Victoria? And the final one will bring it all the way back to where we started. We started with William the Conqueror. Now, William the Conqueror, I told you earlier, has an average of 14,800 weekly searches on google.co.uk. But is that more or less searches per week than Elizabeth II as a search term? Ooh, taxing perhaps. So does William the Conqueror have more or less searches than Elizabeth II? That's the 10th one in a minute or so. I'll put up all 10 of those monarchs in order so that you can go through in case you missed any or in case you're arguing, which some of you probably are, which is kind of the idea. So once you're happy with your answers to the first 2 rounds, you can submit your Google form. The wonderful Alice will then be able to start to manually check through the answers and make sure everything is legit and above board. And then you can load the next answer sheet for rounds 3 and 4. You should find a link to the next answer sheet on the confirmation screen after you submit your first set of answers. But just in case you have a problem, they're displayed just here as well. I'll just leave these on the screen for another 30 seconds and then we'll get on with round number 3. And so, with 2 rounds down out of 5, it might be almost time for you to head to the bar or the bathroom while you take a look at the halfway picture round. Round 3 this time is related to some darn good history books, but oh no! The authors are missing! What a nightmare! Okay, your job is to work out who wrote each of the 10 books whose covers you can see here. And you can use the list of 6, or you should be using the list of 16 possible options at the top of the screen. On the answer sheet, you should find a drop-down menu for each book number. Just match the correct author to the book. Okay, it's the same list of authors for each one of those books. You've just got to match them correctly. So take a few minutes to look through these, have a chat with your teammates while I swat away these darned jungle mosquitoes ahead of our special guest round. Woohoo! I'm very excited. Welcome back to the TM History Icons remote pub quiz. I hope that you're having a good evening so far and that you are ready for tonight's special guest round. Now, Mary-Ann Ochota is a TV presenter and writer who specialises in anthropology and archaeology. You might recognise her from reruns of That There Time Team, or more recently, Mystic Britain, which she co-hosts with Clive Anderson on the Smithsonian Channel. She wrote the book Hidden Histories, A Spotter's Guide to Archaeology in the Landscape, and her new book, Secret Britain, profiles more than 70 sites and artefacts that reveal a strange and mysterious side to ancient Britain. Lots of pictures, good factoids, and a fair smattering of cannibalism, mummification, and moon worship, so pretty much something for everyone there. There are 25 points up for grabs in Mary-Ann's round, so pay attention. This is a biggie. And good luck. Just a warning, she made it to the final of Celebrity University Challenge a few years ago, so she's pretty darn smart. I will hand over to her to take it forward. Good luck, everybody, with our special guest round, courtesy of Mary-Ann Ochota.
Hello, Scott. Thank you very much for including me in this. Very exciting. I love a history teacher. Generally very good at quizzing, I find. The next 10 questions are based on archaeology, many of it British archaeology, featured in this book here, Secret Britain by Mary-Ann Ochota. That's me. Really excellent Christmas present. A really beautiful book, this. Signed copies available on my website. Who'd have thought? Okay, you ready? Question 1. British prehistory traditionally divides into Stone Age, Bronze Age and Iron Age. Some archaeologists add an additional age between Stone Age and Bronze Age. What is it called? Question number 2. The smaller stones at Stonehenge are known as blue stones, and they were transported more than 200 kilometres from West Wales. The largest stone at Stonehenge is from the local area, and it weighs about 30 tonnes. What is that stone called? Okay, question number 3. In the Norse mythologies, the god Odin has command of a number of animals. So what kind of animals are, and I've got 3 animals and I want 3 answers please. What kind of animals are Munin, Freki and Sleipnir? What kind of animals are Munin, Freki and Sleipnir from the Norse mythologies? So 3 answers please, 3 points available. Question number 4. The earliest human burial ever discovered in Britain was found in the Paveland Cave on the Gower in South Wales. It's also known as Goat's Hole Cave. That burial is around 33,000 years old. What name is this skeleton more commonly known by? So the oldest human burial was found in Paveland Cave on the Gower in South Wales. It's 33,000 years old. But what name is the burial and the skeleton more commonly known as? Question number 5. Greenstead Church in Essex is the oldest surviving wooden church in the world. I know, who knew? 51 original oak timbers survive, and they've been dated to 1053 AD, although there's been a church on the site for many hundreds of years before that. You can date organic matter in a number of ways, but what is the technical name for dating timber by analysing the tree rings? So what is the technical name for dating timber by analysing the tree rings? Right, question number 6. The Romans built a wall in Britain that was even further north than Hadrian's Wall. What is the name of this wall, and which firths, so estuaries, does it run between? So what is the name of the wall, and which firths does it run between? So that's 3 parts of the answer and 3 points available. Question number 7. This is a question with 3 holes. Holes. Number 1. Where would you find a leper hole? Where would you find a sheep creep? And where would you find a bung hole? Where would you find a leper hole? Where would you find a sheep creep? And where would you find a bung hole? 3 answers, 3 points. Question number 8. Name the 3 towns or cities that Boudica is said to have destroyed during her revolt in AD 60-61. The modern names of the places, please. So name the 3 places, or cities or towns, that Boudica is said to have destroyed during the revolt in AD 60-61. Modern names. And you get 1 point for answering all 3. If you don't get one of them, then that's it, you're done. Question number 9. In British prehistory, areas that are now quite remote were once important places populated by very sophisticated communities. The archaeology proves that. A good example is Maze Howe, which was built around 5,000 years ago. But what is Maze Howe, and where in the British Isles would you find it? So what is Maze Howe, and where in the British Isles would you find it? So I would like 2 parts to the answer, and 2 points are available. So what is it and where is it? Final question, question number 10. The following are famous sites around the world. I would like the modern country you'd find them in, the civilization or empire they're most associated with, and then I would like you to put all 4 of them into relative age order, oldest to most recent. So for each of the following 4 places around the world, I would like the modern country that you will find this place in, the civilization or empire or culture that you most associate with them, that they're most clearly associated with, and then I would like you to put all 4 of these places into relative age order, starting with the oldest and coming to the most recent. So you get 1 point for each of the countries and the civilizations, and then you get 1 point for getting all 4 in the right order. Okay, so the places are Machu Picchu, Petra, the Taj Mahal, and Angkor Wat. I'll repeat that. Machu Picchu, Petra, the Taj Mahal, and Angkor Wat. So modern country, civilization, and then put those four into the correct age order, oldest to most recent.
Not wanting to ruin the mood at the moment, but that's my spelling mistake on Machu Picchu. Sorry, there should be a second C in Picchu. That's my fault. Sorry. Let's go back to giving you a few minutes to take a look at that. Well, and I'd like to say an enormous thanks there to Mary-Ann for writing and presenting that special guest round for us. She'll be back a little bit later with the answers. Of course, once you're happy with your responses to rounds 3 and 4, then please do submit your Google form. We can see that already a lot of those have already started coming in. Thank you for doing that. And you should be able to load the next one for round 5. Remember that there should be a link once you get the confirmation message. But if not, it's just there. It's that one, bit.ly/TMHI quiz 5-3. And at this point, we're going to try something really fancy, snazzy kind of sort of thing here, because we're going to try to share with you the scores as they stand. This may or may not work, because we think that we've found a way to be able to. There we are. Hey, who would have thunk it? These are the scores as they stand. I can go there or I can just go there. Anyway, these are the scores for rounds 1 and 2, of course. There's still rounds 3 and 4 that you've only just submitted that need to be added onto there, but you should be able to find yourselves there. After the first 2 rounds, they're always fighting it out, these two, Team Dead Famous and Team Rubenhold, but Team Rubenhold just pipping Dead Famous to the first place slot after 2 out of our 5 rounds. It's lovely to see so many teams back with us again. Quarantine Turners back with us. Simon Sharma Llamas Farmers. I think that's a slight tweak on the name there, but wonderful to have them back. Nodnol are with us once again. I'll tell you what, Sasha, for joining us a little bit into round 1, is doing excellently. Handle Removers, halfway down the table as it stood after the first 2 rounds. They, of course, won our first ever quiz. We'll see how they do. The Self-Perpetuating Whig Oligarchy always stand out to me as a fantastic name. The Whatsops, consistently coming along and giving this a shot, despite, always saying we don't really know what this is about, not our area of specialism, but thank you so much for joining us. Scary Weird for Mary Beard. Don't think that we've seen that name along before. So thank you very much for joining us. Butlin's Ascension Island branch. Excellent. That sounds rather appealing, doesn't it? Okay, that was rounds 3 and 4, and that means that it is now time for our 5th and final round in tonight's remote pub quiz on behalf of TM History Icons. Now, after both Fairground Organs and Bardcore, I wasn't really sure where else I could go with history-related cover versions of pop songs. But then I was reminded of Scott Bradley from Postmodern Jukebox and the wonderful genre of ragtime. You are going to hear an extract from 10 different ragtime piano cover versions of pop and rock songs. You just need to work out what on earth it's meant to be. Believe me, by the end of this round, everything just merges into one. This is probably the most challenging of the cover rounds that we have had on the TMHI quiz to date. To help with the auto marking, I've given you a range of choices on the Google form. There are, of course, some red herrings in there. You just need to match the potential, the number of the question to the song title that you're hearing. You can see in alphabetical order, those are the possible songs. Africa by Toto, All by Myself by Eric Carmen, All Star, Bat Out of Hell, Buddy Holly, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, Come On Arlene. You can read, you can see the options, and they will be there up at the right hand corner, but round about here, just where my hand is. They will be there as this plays out. So here we go. You've got about 6 minutes of ragtime piano. Good luck. Well, there you go. I hope that you enjoyed that one, and that you can forgive me for, forcing 6 minutes of plinky plonky ragtime down your ears. Hopefully by now your team will have filled in all of the sections on that final Google form and be ready to submit that final set of answers once you are all agreed, or someone has dominated and just told you, just put an answer. Then please submit that form. We're going to give you a few minutes to get that sorted. We'll collect all the forms in at this end, so take a couple of minutes, get a refill, pop to the loo, or just continue cursing me for choosing ragtime as our historic themed cover versions this time. I'll be back in a few minutes to go through the answers. There we have it. Well, it wouldn't be a quiz, as Fiona pointed out, without a costume change. And let's face it, you can't have one with an archaeology and anthropology round without changing into the traditional Indiana Jones costume. So here I am. All right. You've had your 5 rounds. The answers are all in, I believe, now with Alice. Is that correct? She's working through the form, and so it looks like they're all in. Thank you very, very much for doing that. There's a fair bit of marking to do tonight, as you can well imagine. It is time for us then to start running through the answers. So let's pull up our answers window and away we go. The first round was famous furniture. The question was, this desk is formed of the timbers of which British ship? And it was HMS Resolute. It is the desk in the Oval Office of the White House. It's known as the Resolute desk because it's formed from the timbers of HMS Resolute. Number 2, where is this displayed? It's displayed in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo because that one comes from the tomb of Tutankhamun. Number 3, this bed, the John Lennon Yoko Ono Peace in Bed, was in Amsterdam. Question 4, how many times did this desk host cabinet meetings? We did clarify it's war cabinet meetings. This is the cabinet war rooms for Churchill's war cabinet, and it hosted 115 war cabinet meetings during its time in use. Number 5, last used in 1953, the chair's been used a lot since, and the stone has sort of been there and not, and things like that. It's back in Scotland now. This is the Stone of Scone, which means that this went into a chair. Okay, it's the thing that British monarchs are crowned over. Number 6, the conflict that provides a setting for The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is, of course, the Second World War. All the Pevensey children are evacuees from London as they move out to the countryside and then have their nice adventures with Mr. Tumnus and so on. Question 7. The castle that houses this table is Winchester Castle. Number 8. William Kemmler was the first person to be executed using an electric chair ever, and that execution took place in New York. Question number 9. The Ashanti launched something known as the War of the Golden Stool as an uprising against British colonialists, effectively due to complete disrespect for their culture. Number 10, the sofa here, it was modelled on Mae West's lips, but it was actually made by Salvador Dali. Round 2 was our googly monarchs. Remember, you were looking for whether a monarch had more or less search results than the previous one. So we started with William the Conqueror, who has an average of 14,800 weekly searches on google.co.uk, according to Google Trends at least. Richard the Lionheart has less searches. He has 6,600, according to Google. So King John then has more searches than Richard the Lionheart. He has around 9,900. Meanwhile, Richard III has more again. He has more than King John. He has 18,100 weekly searches, apparently. I was teaching about Richard III today. We were having a look at the body in the car park and all of that kind of stuff, and Philippa Langley and the Ricardians being very upset. Number 4. Henry VIII. I think that everyone probably got this one. Henry VIII has a lot more searches than Richard III. He has 74,000 searches a week, apparently, according to Google. Meanwhile, Elizabeth I has less than that, quite significantly less. I was surprised by this, but this is what Google Trends tells us. If you disagree, argue with that behemoth. They have less searches, 12,100 weekly searches for Elizabeth I. Whereas Charles I has less again. He has 4,400 weekly searches. Just a couple of monarchs after him, Charles II has more searches than Charles I. Apparently 1,000 more searches a week for Charles II as opposed to Charles I. Next up, Queen Victoria. Again, everybody got this one, I think, that Queen Victoria has many more searches than Charles II, somewhere around 60,500 searches a week for her. And number 9, our current monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, has notably less searches than Queen Victoria does, at just over 8,000. So that brings us all the way back round again to William the Conqueror, which obviously therefore means that William the Conqueror must have more weekly searches than Elizabeth II. Remember, it's these specific search phrases if you type in William the Conqueror as opposed to Elizabeth II. So there's more weekly searches for the phrase William the Conqueror at 14,800. Our third round was the mystery authors. Okay, so these were some pretty darn good history books, and the name of the author was missing. You needed to identify who the author was. The first one, Black and British, A Forgotten History, absolutely superb book by David Olusoga. Did you see the interview the other night? Number 2 was Digging Up Britain. Okay, so bit of an archaeological book there for you. That one is by Mike Pitts. The third one, The Guns of August. It is, as it says up there, the winner of the Pulitzer Prize. That was by Barbara Tuchman. The fourth one, Guns, Germs and Steel. This front cover of the 20th anniversary edition. I remember when this was released. This was Jared Diamond. Okay, it's an amazing book, and there's a superb 3-part documentary based on this as well. Well worth watching if you haven't done so already. All about like the secret wars that go on behind wars, as well as everything else. Heretics and Believers, all about the English Reformation, was by Peter Marshall. Number 6, The Making of the English Working Class. Here is an absolute classic that I think sits on most historians' bookcases. That is by the inimitable E.P. Thompson. Number 7, Meetings with Remarkable Manuscripts. This is a very clever book. So 12 illuminated manuscripts from the medieval period, and what it tells us about the world in which they were written and created. That's by Christopher de Hamel. Number 8 was Orientalism. I remember reading this in my degree and having some amazing conversations around it. That's Edward Said. Number 9 is Reckonings. Again, if you haven't read this, you should take a look at it. It's powerful. It's certainly not pleasant, but it's so important to read it. This is by Mary Fulbrook. And the 10th book there, it's Roller Coaster, Europe 1950 to 2017. Personal hero of mine. I got to see him do a talk about this book. I've got a signed copy of it. It's dedicated to me and my class. It's so exciting. Sir Ian Kershaw. So those were your 10 books. Now, the 4th round was our special guest round. And so for this, it makes sense for us to go over to Mary-Ann herself.
by analysing the tree rings, that is dendrochronology. So the answer should be dendrochronology.
Ladies and gentlemen, it appears that there has been a slight technical mishap in that you were struggling to hear sound. I'm really sorry, everyone. We'll go back to the start there so that you can actually hear this, because there are some wonderful explanations from Mary-Ann. My apologies that I wasn't monitoring the chat closely enough. Sorry that this is running on a little bit, but here we go. These are the answers from Mary-Ann. My apologies.
Okay, back. Hi. All right, these are the answers. British prehistory traditionally dates to Stone Age, Bronze Age and Iron Age. Some archaeologists add an additional age between the Stone Age and Bronze Age. What is it called? It is called the Copper Age or Chalcolithic. I will accept either answer. So that's the Copper Age or Chalcolithic. And if you want the explanation as to why, there is evidence of metalworking, but there is not evidence of the combination of tin and copper, which is what makes bronze. And so these are kind of the early days of metalworking, around 2400 to 2200 BC in Britain. Question number 2, the answer to question number 2. The smaller stones at Stonehenge are known as blue stones, and they're from Wales. The largest stone at Stonehenge is local. It weighs 30 tons, and it is called the heel stone. H-E-E-L, heel stone. Okay, question number 3. In the Norse mythologies, the god Odin has command of a number of animals. So what kind of animals are Munin, Freki and Sleipnir? So Munin is a raven partnered with Hugin. So Hugin and Munin are both ravens. They represent thought and memory, and they fly around the world and report back to Odin everything that they see, and that's why he has great wisdom and knowledge of the world. Freki is a wolf and appears with a partner in wolf crime called Geri, and Sleipnir is Odin's 8-legged horse. So the answers that I should be seeing on your answer sheets are raven, wolf and horse. Question number 4. The earliest human burial is found in the Paviland cave. It's 33,000 years old, and it's better known as the Red Lady of Paviland. So the answer you should have is the Red Lady of Paviland. It's red because the body was covered in powdered red ochre, and it's actually the skeleton of a young man. So it's not a red lady, it's a red gentleman. Question number 5. Greenstead Church in Essex is the oldest wooden church surviving in the world. The timbers there are dated to 1053 AD. What is the technique for dating timber by analysing the tree rings? That is dendrochronology. So the answer should be dendrochronology. Question number 6. The Romans built a wall in Britain that was further north than Hadrian's Wall. What's it called and where does it go? It is the Antonine Wall, and it runs between the Firth of Forth and the Firth of Clyde. So the Antonine Wall and the Firth of Forth and the Firth of Clyde. If you would like to know, it was constructed around 142 AD and was abandoned about 165 AD, which is the point where the troops moved back south and refortified Hadrian's Wall, and that became the permanent border of the northern border of Britannia, the province. Okay, are you ready for the holes? 3 holes. Where would you find a leper hole? You would find it in a church. Where would you find a sheep creep? You would find it in a wall or dry stone wall. And where would you find a bung hole? Don't be rude. You would find it in a cask or barrel. I'll accept either. Cask or barrel. Okay, name the 3 towns, cities, places that Boudicca destroyed during her revolt in AD 60-61. The places, the modern names of the places are Colchester, London and St Albans. So Colchester, London and St Albans. Question number 9. In British prehistory, there are places that are now quite remote, but were once obviously very central and sophisticated. A good example is Maze How. But where is it and what is it? It is a burial chamber. I will also accept tomb. I will also accept chambered cairn if you're feeling fancy. And it is in Orkney. I'll also accept the Orkney Isles, Orkney Islands. It's on the mainland in Orkney. So it's a burial chamber or tomb or chambered cairn, and it is in Orkney. And it really is fantastic. So if you ever get a chance to go and visit, do. Okay, last question. The following famous sites, I wanted to know the modern country, the civilization they're most associated with, and then for you to put them in relative age order, oldest to youngest. So Machu Picchu is in Peru and is Incan. Petra is in Jordan and is Nabatean. The Taj Mahal is in India and is Mughal. And Angkor Wat is in Cambodia, and I will accept the Khmer, Angkor, or the Kamboja Empire. In terms of age order, Petra was constructed around 300 BC. Angkor Wat was constructed in the 1100s to the start of the 1200s, so mid-12th century AD. Machu Picchu was constructed mid-15th to mid-16th century AD, so 1450-ish to 1550-ish AD. And the Taj Mahal, the construction began in 1632 and lasted about 10 years. So in relative order, the list you should have is Petra, Angkor Wat, Machu Picchu, and Taj Mahal. If you got all those answers wrong, or if that just simply piqued your interest. Okay, back. Hi. All right, these are the answers. British prehistory traditionally dates to Stone Age bronze.
Oh, I've got no idea what's going on with the tech. That video just jumped very annoyingly because Mary-Ann was literally just about to say that she's got a new book out at the moment. It's wonderful of her to take the time to produce that for us and to spend all the time obviously reading out the questions and everything for us as well. Her new book is called Secret Britain. Remember, it's got more than 70 sites and artifacts. They've got all of that strange and mysterious stuff about ancient Britain, loads of pictures, loads of factoids, and lots of interesting things and gruesome things like cannibalism and mummification and moon worship. Definitely worth getting hold of. You can visit her website and she can send you signed copies as well. Very frustrating that the video cut off there. Don't know what was going on with the answer video there. We had sound issues and video and everything. But anyway, do support Mary-Ann. It's incredible of her to offer her time to help us out there. And I hope that you enjoyed that round. Let us then move on to the ragtime music round. Round 5. Here are the answers. You'll hear a short excerpt of the song, and it will show you what the actual song was playing on the screen. And so, there we go. Those are all the answers to all 5 rounds. I'm just trying to realise that I really should, even though it's meant to be an explorer's outfit, really should iron this shirt because the thing keeps gaping. Anyway, those are the answers to the 5 rounds. I seriously hope that you enjoyed playing the quiz. An enormous thanks, as usual, to my long-suffering wife Alice for her phenomenal off-screen help in putting this all together. And of course, a massive thanks to Mary-Ann Ochota, who's taken all of that time to create that 25 mark round for us in round 4. What that means is that the scores tonight were marked out of 65. Okay, so there were 65 points up for grabs, and although no one got all of them, some people got very close. Our top three teams are as follows. So in 3rd place this time, clearly, I mean, if we take a look at them, I don't know how many are there. Looks to me like Team Dead Famous have still got quite a few people on the team, but nevertheless, Team Dead Famous came in 3rd place with 54 points. In 2nd place, we had our Butlins Ascension Island branch with 58 points out of 65. But this time, taking the winner's trophy with an incredible 61 out of 65. Up there at the top of the table, it's Team Rubenhold. So an enormous congratulations to them. This is just a screenshot from the spreadsheet. Ignore the fact that it says that it's marked out of 20. It isn't marked out of 20. The whole thing is out of 65. Those are the final positions. I will share a link to that spreadsheet out. It's about 10 minutes after the quiz finishes so that you can have a closer look should you so wish. But those are the final positions in tonight's quiz. That wraps it up for tonight. It's been typically manic, but fun at this end. I am incredibly annoyed that there were technical problems for Mary-Ann's final part of the answers. I'm really annoyed by that. But there you go. These things happen when you're doing live streams. Again, thanks to her. Massive thanks to Alice. And of course, thank you to all of you for playing. A final congratulations, of course, goes to Team Rubenhold. 5th time lucky, you win the right to add TMHI quiz winner to your Twitter bio. And so, until we meet again, everyone, think historical thoughts, keep your social distance, and wash your hands, eh?